Okay, oh, hello, right, okay. No one's mentioned it, but I'm going to brush up on Detente now quickly. Explain reasons for it, why it happened, and also what happened. Um, Firstly, we must mention the Cuban Missile Crisis. As I mentioned in the video earlier, this brought the two world superpowers to the brink of full-on nuclear war. And after this had a pretty sobering effect on both sides. They didn't want this to be repeated again. So that was probably the main reason for detente, is they wanted to reduce this pressure, this tension between the two sides, which could eventually result in complete disaster, not just for the two countries, the whole world could die. Why did I go American then? Sorry, never mind. Okay, so another thing was the two sides. Think about how much money they were spending on all these bombs that they were just stockpiling for, just, oh, I'm bigger than you, no, I'm bigger than you, sort of thing. So they wanted to reduce their defense spending as well. Furthermore, the USA wanted out of Vietnam. It didn't want to carry on fighting, and I will do a video on Vietnam once I look at it, really. But they didn't want to be in Vietnam anymore, and they wanted really to have a better relationship with Russia. They wanted, more trade in terms of technology. They wanted to be, dealing in technology with them. Essentially, they just wanted to be more involved with them, so that they could ask them to negotiate, help that they were allies with the North Vietnamese. So they wanted them to help them to negotiate an end to the war. Furthermore, the USA was developing close ties with China, and as a result, the USSR, wanted to increase relations with the USA because he didn't want a Chinese American alliance forming. So they all wanted to be close together. Um, so in reality, so those are the main crux. And also, there's another thing, is the Brezhnev doctrine, which surprised Americans. They, basically in 1968, Brezhnev went, if you're in the Warsaw Pact, expect military action if you're going to try and leave it. So this called really for greater communications between the two nations. So we have really a few events, and be in no doubt, detente is basically publicity, completely publicity. Let's do Nixon's visit to China. So a year before he visits in 1971, he drops the trade embargo between the two countries, and then we have ping-pong diplomacy with the Chinese and the American teams, and then on between the 21st and the 28th of February 1972, Nixon visits China, meets with Mao Zedong, the chairman at the time. And there's three things, really. They want to end their dispute over Taiwan. China believes that Taiwan's part of China. America believes it's a separate country. They want to sort that out. Furthermore, they want to. America wants to ask, for help with the Vietnam situation, and also America wants to increase the void between the Soviets and China. Many people argue that Nixon didn't really achieve any of these aims because there were still issues with Taiwan. At the end of the day, the communists took over in China, North Vietnamese, who were communists, took over all of Vietnam. So he sort of failed there, and also China and the USSR kept their close ties. But importantly, it was visible change. There was visible change. America and China were now able to trade freely between each other. China, the USA allowed China to take its seat in the United Nations. And what we saw is we had images from China that we hadn't seen before, and it was just this really good, and it all looked fabulous, and everything looked fab, and Nixon looked amazing, and his wife was visiting all these fabulous schools, and everything looked fab. Everything looked really swell. And then, of course, we have got SALT 1 and SALT 2. And SALT stands for Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty. The first one was a success. After 3 years of talks Nixon visited Moscow in 1972, and after that they had 3 years of talks in Helsinki and Vienna, and they basically decided to stop producing some, basically limiting the amount of missiles they could produce. They banned production on certain missiles, and they also banned the use of nuclear. They banned strategic ballistic missiles, any more production, and they banned the use of nuclear submarines before the intercontinental ballistic missiles had run out, became obsolete. I presume what they're trying to say is they're trying to get rid of those. So they didn't get rid of any, but they were just stopping them from producing any more. SALT II was going to start reducing number of launch pads, number of transport vehicles, but then this was cancelled. Really, it didn't go through the Senate after the Afghanistan situation in 1979. Helsinki Agreement is again another publicity thing. America and the USSR, along with 33 other countries, basically they want people to feel like as if they can be comfortable with the other country. They want to feel, like as if there's a friendship going on, and they want this sort of harmony, you could call it if you wanted to. So they have these 3 baskets. So you've got what's the first one? I've already forgotten. Security. Basically the recognition of where Eastern Europe ends and Western Europe begins. Soviets recognise Western Europe as an actual place, which is good. Human rights, they all just agree to the basic human rights, freedom of speech, freedom of what religion you want to choose, just these basic freedoms. All of these people signed to. And then cooperation, just increased scientific and cultural cooperation that leads to increased political cooperation. And then we have also the Apollo-Soyuz mission in 1975, which means the first US and USSR mission into space, into the space station. So really, Detente is just this period where everybody's smiling and everybody's going, yeah, we wanted to kill each other 10 years ago, but who cares about that now? Let's save the world. Let's stop Vietnam War. Let's calm the world. Let's reduce these nuclear missiles. Let's show people that we care about human rights. Let's show people that we care about where Europe stands. Let's just show people that we can be accepting of communism, and we can be accepting of capitalism, and capitalism and communism can work together in harmony. Of course, that is complete and utter nonsense, because in 1979, guess what happens? Afghanistan is invaded by the communists. So you've already got that. You've got the end of the USSR, and that's one of my favourite bits, actually. And I have to say, I think Gorbachev deserves more credit for that. Anyway, but that's on the other one. So that is Detente. Basically, everybody's smiling, everybody's looking good. These things are actually beginning to do things. There is a reason behind it, but ultimately the things that happen aren't really that radical. They're all just sort of surface stuff.